The first thing Dakota Harper felt was the blinding, skull-shattering pain right behind her left eye. The second thing was heat, too much of it. Her skin burned, not from the sun, but from the mortifying realization that she wasn't in her hotel bed. Her mouth was dry, her tongue like sandpaper, and when she opened her eyes to the soft golden light spilling through the expensive-looking curtains, she knew something was very, very wrong. She sat up, wincing, holding her pounding head, and blinked. The room was unfamiliar, all sleek modern furniture and marble countertops. Definitely not her room. She looked down and realized she was wearing a hotel robe.
Her clothes were nowhere in sight.
And then she heard it.
The groan.
Low, annoyed, undeniably familiar. Her heart stopped. What the hell? A voice croaked from beside her. Slowly, Dakota turned. And there she was.
Kate. Fucking.
Mitchell. Lying beside her. Hair a mess, makeup smeared, arm thrown dramatically over her forehead like some hungover Shakespearean tragedy. Dakota's mouth dropped open. Oh, hell no. Kate cracked one eye open, squinted at her, and smirked. Well, good morning, Mrs. Harper. Dakota froze. What did you just call me? Kate blinked at her, sat up gingerly, and reached over to the nightstand.
This.
She tossed something at Dakota. It landed in her lap with a soft thud. A piece of paper.
No.
A document. Dakota picked it up with trembling fingers. Her eyes scanned the words. Her blood ran cold. Certificate of marriage. Spouses. Dakota Lynn Harper and Catherine Elise Mitchell. Date. Yesterday. Location. Las Vegas, Nevada.
No. No.
This can't be real. This is a prank. Some kind of sick, tequila-induced nightmare. Kate leaned back against the headboard, sipping from a bottle of water she'd snagged off the nightstand. It's got the seal, witness signature, and everything. You even signed your name with a heart. Cute. Dakota stared at her. I hate you. I know. Isn't married life just precious? And then she saw it. The thin gold band on her finger. She yanked her hand up to her face. Oh my God. Matching rings, Kate said, holding up her own hand. I gotta admit, we have taste. Dakota stood up too fast and immediately regretted it. She grabbed the edge of the dresser for support. Her head spun. Her stomach turned. I don't remember anything. I remember blackjack, Kate said. And tequila. Lots of it. You kept insisting you could outdrink me. Spoiler alert. You couldn't. Dakota's heart raced as fragments tried to surface in her brain. The bar at the hotel.
A dare. Shots.
Kate laughing, tipping her head back with a wicked grin. A drive-through chapel? A man in an Elvis costume? We have to undo this. Immediately. Agreed, Kate said. We'll find a lawyer, file whatever we need to, and get it annulled before lunch. Easy. But it wasn't easy. It was Vegas. And Vegas had rules. You have to reside here for at least 6 weeks to file for divorce, the lawyer explained, not looking up from her desk. And annulments? That window closed the moment you two filed paperwork and consummated the marriage. Dakota nearly choked.
What?
We didn't, she turned to Kate. We didn't, did we? Kate shrugged, clearly enjoying this far too much. Well, I am sore in places I don't usually use for sleeping, but who knows? Maybe you just kicked me in your sleep. Dakota looked like she wanted the floor to open up and swallow her whole. There has to be another way. There's always another way, the lawyer said. It just takes time.
Weeks.
Maybe months. And privacy. Vegas might be wild, but your firm's reputation? That's another story. And just like that, reality hit them both. The promotion. The senior partner spot. They were both in the running. They'd both worked for years to prove they were the best. The firm valued stability, professionalism, and above all, maturity. A drunken Vegas wedding with a coworker rival? That would destroy any chance either of them had. Nobody can know, Dakota said. Ever. Kate looked at her for a long moment. Truce, then? Temporary truce, Dakota said, holding out her hand. Until we fix this. Kate smirked. Till divorce do us part. They shook on it. But the moment their hands touched, something shifted. Electric. Confusing. Dangerous. Dakota yanked her hand away. Kate raised an eyebrow, amused. They stood in silence for a beat too long. And suddenly, the absurdity of the situation settled over them like a fog. Dakota sat on the edge of the bed, stunned. We're married. To each other, Kate said. Truly, the gayest disaster imaginable. We need a plan. We need coffee first. And maybe, just maybe, they needed something else too. But neither of them was ready to admit it. Not yet. 3 days. That's how long Dakota Harper managed to avoid Kate Mitchell after the disaster in Vegas. 3 days of obsessively checking her email, deleting all flight confirmations, blocking every notification that mentioned Vegas, and nearly giving herself an ulcer trying to figure out how to erase a legal marriage without anyone in their firm knowing. On the morning of the 4th day, Dakota was already at her desk by 7 a.m., meticulously dressed, hair pulled into a tight low bun, and sipping black coffee so strong it should have come with a warning label. She had answered every email, color-coded her calendar, and even reorganized her case files. Anything to keep her brain occupied. But none of it worked, because all she could see, over and over again, was Kate's smirking face under the glow of neon lights. Kate's mouth curled up in a grin, teasing her. Kate's hand in hers. Kate's lips.
On.
Hers. Dakota slammed her pen down and stood up, so suddenly her chair nearly toppled. She grabbed her coat and marched straight to the elevator, ignoring the way her stomach twisted the moment she typed the name of the cafe into her phone. Neutral territory. That was the deal. They weren't going to talk in the office, weren't going to risk anyone overhearing them whisper about marriage certificates and tequila-induced kisses. So they agreed to meet somewhere nobody from the firm would dare enter before 10 a.m., a quiet little cafe in Brooklyn that smelled like overbrewed espresso and desperation. Dakota arrived first, of course. She always did. She chose a table near the back, facing the entrance, back to the wall, standard war position. She had barely touched her coffee when the bell over the door jingled. And then she walked in. Kate Mitchell. Black leather jacket. Turtleneck. Sunglasses pushed into her wild dark hair. She looked like a bisexual fever dream and a menace to public order, and Dakota wanted to scream. Kate spotted her immediately and made her way over, sliding into the seat across from her with all the grace of a woman who had zero regrets about anything that had ever happened in her life. Wow, she said, tilting her head, eyes scanning Dakota like she was some sort of museum exhibit. I honestly wasn't sure you'd show. Dakota's voice was clipped. This isn't a choice. It's damage control. Don't be like that, Kate said, leaning back in her chair, grinning.
You looked so happy in that chapel.
Especially when you kissed me like your life depended on it. Dakota's eye twitched. We need to focus. I found a family law attorney in Midtown who specializes in fast-track annulments. We have an appointment tomorrow at 6. Kate raised an eyebrow. Midtown? Risky. The office closes at 5. Nobody will know. Unless they do, Kate said, tapping her fingers on the table. You know, you really need to learn to relax, wifey. Dakota glared at her. Do not call me that. Ever. Especially not in public. Noted. Kate smirked and took a sip of Dakota's coffee without asking. Dakota snatched the cup back. So, what's the plan?
Kate asked.
We go in, tell them it was a mistake. We tell them it was an accidental marriage under the influence. Lack of intent. Should be enough grounds for annulment.
Sounds boring.
I liked it better when you were screaming at me about blackjack. I wasn't screaming. I was arguing. With very passionate hand gestures. Because you were cheating. Kate shrugged, smiling. I still won. Dakota rolled her eyes, but the edge of her lips betrayed her. For a second, just a split second, Kate saw the crack in the armor. And she liked it. Anyway, Dakota continued, straightening in her seat, we need to establish some rules. Ooh, I love rules.
Hit me.
No talking about Vegas in the office. No eye contact for more than 5 seconds. No mentioning rings. No slipping up and calling me anything other than Harper. Kate leaned forward, grinning wider. 5 seconds of eye contact, huh? Sounds like you timed it. Dakota flushed. I'm being strategic. Sure. Nothing strategic about how red your ears are right now. Dakota opened her mouth to retort, but stopped when her phone buzzed. She looked down. It was a calendar reminder. Lunch with partner Wallace. Thursday. Her stomach dropped. The promotion. The timing. The scrutiny. She took a deep breath. We can't screw this up. That promotion is everything. If anyone finds out, they won't, Kate said, softer now. We're smarter than that. Dakota looked at her. Really looked. And for the first time in a long time, saw something other than competition. She saw a woman sitting across from her who was just as scared, just as uncertain, just as trapped. Right, Dakota said quietly. We'll fix it. They sat in silence for a moment. Then Kate broke it as always. So, we're not getting matching tattoos to commemorate the wedding then? Dakota stood up, grabbed her coat, and muttered, I hate you, as she stormed out. But her heart was pounding, and she could feel Kate's eyes on her the whole way out. Monday morning in the Harper and Langston law offices was an exercise in silent warfare. Phones rang, heels clicked on marble floors, assistants whispered urgently into headsets. And amidst the flurry of legal chaos, Dakota Harper sat perfectly still at her desk, staring at the ivory envelope that had just been delivered to her by the receptionist with an innocent, "This came for you, Ms. Harper." Looks personal. It had no return address, only her name, written in elegant script. No stamp. Hand-delivered. That alone made her spine straighten and her breath hitch. She turned the envelope over once, twice, as if somehow the paper itself might offer an explanation. Then, heart pounding, she slid a manicured finger beneath the seal and peeled it open. Inside, a stack of glossy photographs slid out into her hands. The first image made her heart drop into her stomach. Her and Kate, standing in front of a pink neon sign that read, "Viva Las Vegas, forever yours." Kate had her arm wrapped tightly around Dakota's waist, her mouth open in mid-laugh. Dakota's head was thrown back, laughing too. They looked happy. Stupidly, infuriatingly happy. The next photo was them standing side by side, holding hands. Then one of them with the officiant, Elvis, naturally, posing dramatically. And then, the fourth photo. Dakota froze. Her breath caught in her throat. Her fingers trembled. It was a shot of the moment their lips met. A kiss. Full. Deep. Intimate. Dakota's hands on Kate's jaw, Kate's fingers curled into Dakota's blazer. Their eyes closed, bodies close, mouths completely connected. It wasn't funny. It wasn't a joke. It wasn't even drunk. It looked real. Too real. Her skin burned with the weight of it. Suddenly the room was too bright, too loud. She shoved the photos back into the envelope and looked up just in time to see Kate, Mitchell striding down the corridor toward her desk, a stack of case files in one hand and that same infuriating smirk on her lips. "Morning, sunshine," she said casually, dropping the files on Dakota's desk. "Hope you're ready to suffer through a 4-hour strategy meeting with Wallace." Dakota stood up, so fast her chair scraped against the floor. "Office. Now." Kate blinked. "Ooh. Love what you've seen so far, and want to help me keep creating these awesome stories on this channel? Then subscribe and hit the bell. Your subscription supports the channel and makes sure you get more exciting stories." Harper's using her "don't mess with me" voice. Should I be scared? Now. Kate followed her into the nearest empty conference room, her heels echoing against the tile. The moment the door closed, Dakota turned and threw the envelope at her chest. "These came for me this morning." Kate caught the envelope, opened it, and pulled out the photos. Her eyebrows rose. "Well, that's a flattering angle." "This isn't funny," Dakota snapped, pacing the room. "Why would the chapel send these? Why would they print them?" Kate didn't look nearly as horrified. "It's Vegas. They probably do it for all the drunk newlyweds. Like a souvenir.
How sweet.
Think we get a magnet too? Kate. All right. She held up the photo of their kiss, squinting at it.
Damn.
We really went for it, huh? Dakota stopped. You don't remember it? Kate shrugged. I remember bits. Flashes. Your hand in mine. You laughing. You saying I was insufferable. You are insufferable. And yet, Kate said, waving the photo slightly, you kissed me like I wasn't. Dakota felt like her body was vibrating from the inside out. That kiss, it doesn't mean anything. We were drunk. Sure, Kate said slowly. But, just for the record, drunk or not, you're a good kisser. Dakota's mouth opened. Then closed. Then opened again. You what? No, relax, Kate said, sliding the photos back into the envelope and tossing it onto the table. We'll burn them later. Or frame them. Depending on how this all shakes out. Dakota rubbed her temples. We're supposed to be keeping a low profile. If anyone finds out, no one will. Kate interrupted, unusually firm. We're fine. These didn't come to the office mailroom. They were handed to you. The chapel probably thought they were doing something nice. We just need to get through this week without combusting. Dakota stared at her. I don't trust you. That's mutual, sweetheart. And yet, when Kate moved to the door, she paused. For what it's worth, she said without turning around, it wasn't a bad kiss. Dakota said nothing. Just stood there, heart racing, 100 arguments on her tongue, but none of them coming out. That photo would haunt her. The image of their lips meeting. Her hand on Kate's cheek. The heat. The pull. It was just alcohol. Just adrenaline. Nothing more. But the moment she was alone again, she took the photo out of the envelope and looked at it one more time. By Thursday evening, Dakota's nerves were a raw, frayed mess. She had rescheduled her meetings, skipped lunch, and spent the entire day convincing herself she wasn't going to commit murder. Not because she was above it, but because if anyone deserved it, it was Kate Mitchell, and Dakota had a feeling that killing your drunken accidental wife would probably count as bad optics for partner consideration. She stood outside the small law office in Midtown, clutching her coat tightly against the wind. It wasn't flashy, but discreet, tucked between a dentist's office and a dry cleaner. Just anonymous enough. Just safe enough. She checked her watch. 6:02 p.m. late. Of course. Kate was late. Dakota paced in front of the glass door once, twice, mentally preparing her talking points. They'd go in, explain the situation, request an annulment, and be done. Easy. Clinical. No emotion. No distractions. Just two adults cleaning up a very, very stupid mistake. The door opened behind her. Wow, came Kate's voice. Didn't think you'd beat me here. Though I should have known. You probably camped out since lunch. Dakota didn't even turn around. You're late. I brought coffee. That buys me, 5 minutes of forgiveness. It doesn't. I also wore a button-up shirt. Thought you might appreciate the effort. Dakota finally turned. She hated how Kate looked in the golden glow of the streetlights, cheeks flushed from the cold, lips pink, eyes playful. Her dark curls were windblown and tucked beneath a navy wool coat. Dakota hated that it registered. Hated that her brain betrayed her. Let's get this over with, she muttered, pulling the door open and stepping inside. The receptionist looked up, nodded toward the hallway. You're here for Rebecca Carson? She's waiting in the second office to the left. Thank you, Dakota said crisply, already moving. Kate trailed behind her, sipping from her coffee. Want a sip? No, you sure? You look tense. More than usual, I mean. If I drink caffeine after 5, I don't sleep. So responsible. So tragically boring. Dakota ignored her and knocked on the office door. A voice called, "Come in." Rebecca Carson was a middle-aged woman with silver hair, smart eyes, and an aura of calm so powerful it almost disarmed Dakota. Almost. She gestured for them to sit. So, she said, folding her hands on the desk. You two are here because... We need an annulment, Dakota said quickly. We were married under, let's say, impaired judgment in Las Vegas last weekend. It was a mistake. We'd like it dissolved as soon as possible. Rebecca nodded slowly. And you're both consenting to this? God, yes, Kate said. We're barely consenting to sit in the same room. Rebecca raised an eyebrow. I see. And what grounds are you planning to claim? Dakota reached into her folder, pulling out a printed list. Impairment, lack of intent, lack of consummation. Oh, I wouldn't go with that last one. Kate interrupted lightly. Don't want to start lying to lawyers, right? Dakota shot her a death glare. Rebecca blinked, then scribbled something on her notepad. Okay, well, first thing to note, New York doesn't grant annulments easily. It's a complex process, and unless you can prove coercion or fraud, you're mostly looking at divorce territory. Dakota felt her pulse jump. What? Nevada might have been easier, if you'd filed within the first 72 hours. But you're past that. Here, the courts will likely treat your marriage as valid. To undo it, you'd need to go through proper divorce proceedings. We weren't even in our right minds, Dakota argued. We have witnesses. We were drunk. There was an Elvis impersonator. Unfortunately, Rebecca said, none of that necessarily negates intent. Especially not if you signed paperwork, which you did. She flipped through the scanned documents Dakota had emailed. Quite enthusiastically, I might add. Kate leaned over. You dotted your I with a heart. I will set you on fire. You're so violent lately. I like it. Dakota turned to Rebecca, ignoring her entirely. So, what do we do? Rebecca sighed. Well, you can still try to file for annulment, but it will take time. Paperwork, hearings, possible delays. It won't be quick or clean. And if either of you gets cold feet or makes an inconsistent statement, the whole thing falls apart. We have to do this discreetly, Dakota said. We work for the same law firm, one of the most high-profile firms in the city. If this gets out, you're trying to keep this a secret? Yes, both women said at once. Rebecca gave them a long look. Then you'd better keep it airtight. No leaks, no talking, no slip-ups. You'll need to be very careful who you involve from now on. Even coming here could be risky. Dakota's face went pale. What do you mean? We're a quiet office, but gossip spreads. I can keep your names out of it, but word gets around. We'll be careful, Dakota said tightly. We just need to make this go away. Rebecca handed them a packet of forms.
Start with these.
Fill them out together. No mistakes. Then come back. We'll proceed from there. Together? Dakota repeated. Is that necessary? Very, the lawyer said. You're married after all. As they left the office, the silence between them was a thick, buzzing wall. Dakota walked 3 steps ahead, arms crossed, barely breathing. Kate caught up at the elevator, her voice quiet now.
Hey.
You okay? Fine. You're shaking. I'm cold. Want to get food? Dakota blinked. What?
Food.
You haven't eaten. You were too busy micromanaging your panic spiral. And I'm starving. We're not friends, Mitchell. Thank God. I have too many friends already.
Come on.
There's a ramen place around the corner. I won't bite. Dakota hesitated. The idea of sitting across from Kate, again, after that meeting, after hearing the word divorce out loud, after realizing they were in this far deeper than they thought, it felt impossible. But then Kate looked at her, not smirking for once, just looking.
Soft.
Curious. 1 hour, Dakota said. Then I go home.
Deal.
The ramen place was warm, dimly lit, and smelled like heaven. They sat in a corner booth. The silence stretched long at first, filled only by slurps of broth and the occasional clink of chopsticks. Then Kate said, You're different when we're not at work. Dakota looked up. Excuse me? You're quieter. Less murdery. More human. I'm the same person. You're not. At the office, you're all armor. But here, Kate tilted her head. It's like I can see the real you. Dakota scoffed. You don't know me. Maybe not. But I want to. That silenced her. The words felt too close. Too dangerous. And far too honest. Dakota looked away. You're not charming, Kate. I'm not trying to be. They finished their meal in silence. On the walk back, a man brushed past them too quickly, bumping Dakota's shoulder. She stumbled slightly, and before she could regain balance, Kate's hand shot out, steadying her by the elbow. It lingered a moment too long.
Warm. Steady.
Intimate. Dakota pulled away like the touch burned. Don't. Didn't want you to fall, Kate said softly. Dakota's voice came out quieter than she expected. Just don't. But when she got home and closed the door, she leaned against it for a long time. And she could still feel Kate's hand on her arm. The moment the firm's travel itinerary hit Dakota Harper's inbox, she knew she was going to die. Not metaphorically. Not legally. Just spiritually, emotionally, and possibly physically. She stared at the email from HR with the kind of quiet horror usually reserved for malpractice lawsuits or surprise audits. Subject: Vegas travel confirmed, case review, and client strategy retreat. And right beneath it, bolded for emphasis, 1 standard room reserved, 2 double beds. Harper and Mitchell. She felt the blood drain from her face. Not only was she being forced to return to the scene of the crime, not only was she faking a professional reason to justify the trip, not only was she going to have to dodge any and all questions from nosy colleagues about why she and Kate Mitchell were jetting off to Nevada together, but now she was expected to share a damn room with her accidental wife. Dakota stood up from her desk, marched down the hallway, and stormed into Kate's office without knocking. Kate was lounging in her chair, feet propped on the desk, lazily flipping through a case file. "Hey, Rumi," she said without looking up. Dakota slammed the door behind her. "They booked us in 1 room. Yup. Why would they do that? Because we submitted a joint request for travel. You said you'd handle the logistics. And I did." Kate finally looked up, annoyingly calm. "I told HR we were attending a client strategy session and that the firm wouldn't approve 2 separate hotel rooms for 1 case. Budget cuts, remember? I even got them to approve meals and ground transport. You're welcome." Dakota stared at her. "You did this on purpose." "I did this efficiently," Kate corrected. "We need this to look legitimate. You want to explain to HR why we need 2 rooms for a 1-day case consult. I want to explain to HR that you're impossible, and I'm going to strangle you in your sleep." Kate grinned. "Then it's good we're sharing a room. Easier access." Dakota groaned and turned away, but not before Kate caught the faintest flush on her cheeks. 3 hours later, they were at JFK, waiting to board the red-eye to Vegas. Dakota had her laptop open, typing furiously, pretending to review a deposition. Kate was sipping a chai latte, watching her with quiet amusement. "You know," she said, "if you clench your jaw any harder, your teeth are going to fuse." Dakota didn't respond. "Relax," Kate added. "We've done harder things. Like pretending we don't want to kill each other on a daily basis." "This isn't pretending," Dakota muttered. "This is survival." Same difference. The flight was uneventful, though the air between them was anything but. They didn't speak, didn't look at each other. But every time their arms brushed on the shared armrest, every time Kate shifted and her knee bumped Dakota's, a current sparked beneath the silence. At 1:42 a.m., they arrived in Las Vegas. Again. Dakota had hoped that coming back would somehow feel different, colder, cleaner, less chaotic. But the moment they stepped into the hotel lobby and she saw the same gleaming chandelier, the same marble floor, the same bar they'd stumbled out of days ago, her stomach twisted. The receptionist smiled at them with the vague politeness reserved for late-night check-ins. 1 room, 2 double beds, she said, handing over the key cards. Elevator to your left. Dakota didn't look at Kate. Not when they walked into the elevator, not when the doors closed, not even when they entered the room. The room was spacious, high-end, and cursed. 2 identical beds. A sleek bathroom. A minibar that practically screamed bad decisions. Dakota set her bag down with a sigh and turned to face Kate. "Here are the ground rules." Kate flopped onto one of the beds, hands behind her head. "Oh, goody. No talking after lights out. What is this, summer camp?" No walking around in a towel. I never do. No, no casual touching or sharing things or looking at me like that. Like what? Like you're waiting for me to spontaneously combust. Kate propped herself on her elbows, eyes glinting. Too late for that, Harper. Dakota huffed and retreated to the bathroom to change. When she returned in a full-length sleep set, long sleeves, long pants, buttoned up to the neck, Kate nearly choked laughing. You planning to sleep or perform surgery? I'm planning to ignore you entirely. Kate was in a t-shirt and shorts, curled on the opposite bed like she owned the place. Suit yourself. But if you get hot in that thing and pass out, I'm not giving you CPR. Noted. The lights went out. For exactly 7 minutes, there was silence. And then Kate said, "You're still awake. So are you. I can feel you radiating stress." I am stress. Kate laughed quietly. This would be a lot more fun if you weren't so busy pretending you don't find me mildly attractive. Dakota sat up. I don't find me attractive. Yeah. Keep telling yourself that, Mrs. Harper. Do not call me that. What should I call you then? Nothing. Just go to sleep.
Can't.
Your hostility is keeping me up. Dakota laid back down, eyes wide open in the dark. She hated that her heart was pounding. She hated that her mouth was dry. She hated that she was picturing that damn kiss from the photo again. She didn't sleep. Neither did Kate. The next morning, they arrived at the law office in downtown Vegas bleary-eyed and over-caffeinated. The same attorney who'd married them, now doubling as divorce advisor, greeted them with a familiar smile. Well, back already. Dakota handed over the paperwork. We're here to get this annulled. Of course, he said, flipping through the documents. Let me guess. Complications in New York? You have no idea, Kate muttered. He looked up. Unfortunately, the fastest option available is still going to take a few weeks. Residency requirements, waiting periods, court scheduling. I can expedite, but only so much. You'll need to come back again or stay here longer than you probably want to. So it's still not over, Dakota said, mostly to herself. Afraid not. They left the office in silence. Outside, the sun was blinding, and the wind felt like heat from a hairdryer. Kate turned to her as they reached the car.
So,
what now? We go back. We keep faking. We wait. We survive. Barely. Back at the hotel, Dakota collapsed on the bed, arm over her eyes. Kate watched her for a moment. You know, she said softly, you don't have to do this all alone. Dakota didn't move. We're in this mess because of you. We're in this mess because we were both drunk, reckless, and apparently very compatible kissers. Dakota turned her head. That was one kiss. Kate smiled. One very good kiss. Dakota didn't answer, but her silence wasn't denial.
They were supposed to be back in New York by now.
Dakota had cleared her schedule for precisely 48 hours, just enough time to fly to Vegas, meet with a lawyer, sign whatever forms needed signing, and escape before her brain melted from proximity to Kate Mitchell. But now, sprawled on the beige hotel bed for the second night in a row, Dakota stared at the ceiling like it might offer divine intervention. It didn't. Just a weird water stain that looked vaguely like Elvis. How poetic. I can't believe this is happening, she muttered for the 100th time that day. Believe it, came Kate's voice from across the room. Our lawyer husband said the next hearing can't be scheduled for at least 2 weeks unless one of us becomes a Nevada resident. Which, considering you flinched every time someone said Vegas, I'm assuming is off the table. Dakota sat up, fingers pinching the bridge of her nose. I have meetings next week. A deposition. If I stay here, I lose my edge. If I go back, I have to keep lying. Kate was half sitting, half lounging on her bed, flipping through the hotel's TV menu with the casual boredom of someone who absolutely thrived in chaos. We go back. Play the game. Come back in 2 weeks. Say it's another strategy session. We're lawyers. We lie for a living. I don't lie, Dakota snapped. Kate laughed without looking up.
Right.
Except when you're lying to yourself. Dakota's head whipped around. What the hell Is that supposed to mean? Kate finally met her gaze, eyes glinting. Nothing. Just that you keep pretending you hate me, but you've been staring at my mouth every time I talk since we got here. Dakota's jaw clenched. Don't flatter yourself. I'm not. I'm just observant. You're impossible. You're wound so tight I'm surprised you haven't imploded. And you're... Dakota stood up, pointing a finger. The most irritating, smug, infuriating human being I've ever met. Kate smiled. And yet, you married me. I was drunk. Still counts. It doesn't. Tell that to our lawyer husband and the Nevada state government. Dakota groaned and stalked into the bathroom, slamming the door shut. She leaned on the sink, breathing hard. Her cheeks were hot, her pulse erratic. She hated this. Hated how easily Kate got under her skin. Hated that a stupid look, a stupid smile, a stupid smirk made her stomach tighten. She splashed water on her face and braced herself. But when she stepped out of the bathroom 10 minutes later, wrapped in a robe with her pajamas clutched to her chest, she froze. Kate was standing at the closet, back turned, wearing nothing but a pair of underwear and a black bra, digging through her suitcase. Her skin was smooth, golden under the dim light, her spine a perfect line of tension, her hair spilling over one shoulder. Dakota's breath caught. She couldn't move, couldn't blink, couldn't function. Kate turned slightly, catching the movement in the corner of her eye. Her smile was slow, feline. See something you like? Jesus Christ, Dakota muttered, turning on her heels so fast she almost dropped her clothes. I told you rules, boundaries, towels. I'm wearing more than a towel, Kate said, completely unbothered. This is Vegas. Technically, I'm overdressed. Could you please just cover, ugh? Dakota disappeared into the bathroom again, slamming the door a second time. She stayed in there for another 15 minutes, breathing like a woman trying to talk herself off a cliff. When she came out, Kate was under the sheets, lights dimmed, back turned. You're the worst person alive, Dakota said as she climbed into her own bed. You've said that every night, because it's still true. Sweet dreams, darling. Don't you dare. Silence. But not peace. The air between them was thick, too thick. Dakota laid there for what felt like hours, listening to Kate breathe, to the hum of the AC, to the thunderous sound of her own heartbeat. At some point, she must have drifted off. But when she woke in the early hours, groggy and confused, she realized something was different. Movement. A weight.
Kate.
In her bed, curled up beside her. Dakota froze, eyes wide, heart slamming against her ribs. Kate's face was inches from hers, breath warm, one hand resting lightly on Dakota's waist. Dakota whispered, "What are you doing?" Kate didn't open her eyes. "You talk in your sleep," she murmured. "I do not." "You do." Said something about kissing. Dakota's cheeks burned. "Get out of my bed. You were cold. You reached for me. That never happened." "It did."
Kate.
Kate finally opened one eye. "Fine." She rolled away, dragging her pillow and blanket with her, flopping back into her own bed with a dramatic sigh. "But for the record, you're a cuddler. Adorable, but unexpected." Dakota pulled the covers over her head.
She didn't speak.
She didn't move. But she didn't fall back asleep, either. She couldn't. Not with the phantom sensation of Kate's fingers on her waist still burning against her skin. Not with the memory of Kate's body in her bed. Not with the truth hammering through her chest, louder and louder with each heartbeat. She didn't just want to annul this marriage. She wanted to forget how it felt to be touched like that. And deep down, she knew she wouldn't be able to. The flight back to New York was quiet. Not a peaceful kind of quiet. Nothing about Dakota and Kate had ever been peaceful, but the kind of silence that crackled, sharp and heavy, like the air before a thunderstorm. Dakota sat in the window seat, arms crossed, jaw clenched so tight her teeth ached. She didn't look at Kate once. She didn't have to. She could feel her. Every shift of her body, every brush of her knee against the shared armrest, every breath she took like she wasn't carrying a live wire between her lungs. Kate, for once, wasn't smiling. She stared straight ahead, headphones in, lips tight. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was defiance. Dakota didn't care. She couldn't afford to care. She had spent the entire night replaying the moment Kate had climbed into her bed, the heat of her body, the steady rhythm of her breathing, the way her fingers had curled so naturally around Dakota's waist, like they'd done it 100 times before, like they belonged there. And then the words. You were cold. You reached for me. She hadn't. She couldn't have. But maybe she had. She didn't know anymore. She was unraveling, and she knew it. The second they landed, Dakota all but sprinted through the terminal, barking into her phone about depositions and filing deadlines just to drown out the noise in her own head. Kate trailed behind her, calm as ever, sunglasses on, lips pursed. They didn't speak the entire cab ride back to the city. Not until they reached the firm. We're still meeting with a partner on Thursday, Kate said as they stood in the lobby, voices low and clipped. Don't forget. I won't, Dakota replied without looking at her. And the paperwork for Vegas, I'll handle it. Fine, fine. They went their separate ways. But the silence wasn't gone. It followed them, lingered, wrapped around them like smoke. By the time Thursday night rolled around, Dakota had convinced herself it was fine. She was fine. The meeting with the senior partner had gone smoothly. No suspicion, no awkward questions. Just praise for their team synergy and seamless collaboration. A joke about them being the most productive pairing in the office. She laughed. Kate smirked. And the world kept spinning like nothing was wrong. Like they weren't married. Like they hadn't woken up in a hotel bed with secrets between them and fire in their blood. Dakota worked late that night. Everyone had gone home hours ago. The office was dark, save for her desk lamp and the faint glow of the city outside. She was scanning briefs for an upcoming trial when she heard the elevator ding. She didn't look up. Didn't need to. Only one person would be reckless enough to come back this late without texting. You left your charger in the conference room, Kate said, her voice echoing softly in the empty space. Figured you'd come back for it, so I grabbed it first. Dakota reached for it, but Kate didn't hand it over. Can we talk? No, please. We're not doing this, Kate. Doing what? Whatever this is. Dakota finally looked up, eyes cold, jaw locked. You think this is a game. You flirt, you push, you touch me like it means nothing. But it's not a joke to me. It's not something I can laugh off. I'm not laughing, Kate said quietly. Then what are you doing? Dakota stood, heart pounding. You climb into my bed, you make jokes about our kiss like it's nothing, and I'm supposed to what? Ignore it? Pretend I don't feel like I'm losing my mind every time you look at me like you're waiting for me to break? Kate took a step forward. Maybe I am. Dakota's breath caught. Don't. Why not? Because if you keep pushing me, I will break. Another step, then break. And that was it. The dam snapped. Dakota surged forward, fists clenched, rage bubbling. You don't get to do this. You don't get to act like you know me. You don't know anything about me. I know you hate losing, Kate said, voice low, and I know you hate that you want me. I don't. Yes, you do. I don't. Then why are you shaking? Dakota opened her mouth to scream, to deny, to fight, but she couldn't, because Kate was right there. So close. Breathing the same air. Eyes dark. Lips parted. And God, she was shaking. With anger. With fear. With something else. Something hotter. You make me crazy, Dakota whispered. Good, Kate breathed. And then they moved. Together.
Fast.
Violent. Urgent. Their mouths collided. Not soft, not sweet, but rough, gasping, hungry. Hands tangled in hair. Bodies pressing close. Teeth clashing. It was messy. It was electric. It was everything they weren't supposed to feel. And then Dakota pulled away. Hard. No. She stepped back, chest heaving, eyes wide with panic. This can't happen. Why not? Kate's voice was ragged. Because I can't want you. You already do. No, Dakota said again, backing toward the door. This was a mistake. You always say that after you feel something. This wasn't real. Tell that to your hands. Dakota looked down. Her fingers were trembling. She hated it. Hated herself. Hated how much she wanted to go back to that moment and stay in it. But she didn't. She turned and walked away.
Fast.
Without looking back, Kate stood alone in the office, the silence loud, the kiss still burning on her lips. It wasn't supposed to go this far, but it had, and there was no going back. The walls of Harper and Langston had never felt more claustrophobic. Dakota had walked these halls for 7 years, heels echoing, head high, face unreadable. But now every corner, every glass door, every conference room buzzed with invisible tension. Not from her coworkers, not from pressure, from her, from them, from that kiss. It had been 4 days. 4 long, torturous days since the night she lost control in the office, since her mouth collided with Kate's, since her fingers curled into her rival's shirt and her body pressed into a fire she never should have lit. And then she pulled away. She always pulled away. But she hadn't forgotten. Couldn't forget. Her lips still remembered the taste. Her skin still burned with the ghost of Kate's hands. Her thoughts were a battlefield, and she was losing every war. She avoided Kate like it was her second job, ducking into elevators before she could catch sight of her, taking the stairs, skipping meetings they were both invited to and claiming conflicts. But it didn't matter. Every time Dakota entered a room, she felt her, like static electricity, like gravity, like a problem she couldn't outlogic. Kate, on the other hand, was infuriatingly calm. Not smug, worse. Serene. As if nothing had happened. As if she wasn't walking around with Dakota's fingerprints still pressed into her soul. She moved through the office with her usual confidence, joking with paralegals, smirking at interns, sipping her coffee like the world belonged to her. But every now and then, when Dakota wasn't looking, when she thought Dakota wasn't looking, Kate's smile slipped. Just a fraction. Just enough. Thursday morning, Dakota arrived earlier than usual. She wanted silence, control, the illusion of distance. But fate, as always, had other plans. Her assistant was waiting by her desk, holding a folder. Ms. Harper, your 9 a.m. was moved to 8:15. The client requested both you and Ms. Mitchell be present for the deposition prep. Dakota blinked. What? He wants both counsel in the room. Said, he liked your energy together. Dakota could feel her blood pressure spike. Did you confirm it? Of course, her assistant chirped. Ms. Mitchell is already in conference room 5C. Of course she was. Dakota straightened her blazer, grabbed her notes, and told herself it would be fine. She could handle an hour. She could pretend. She was a professional. But the moment she stepped into 5C, the lie crumbled. Kate was seated at the head of the table, fingers tapping a legal pad, black blazer over a low-cut shirt, hair pinned up in a messy bun that made Dakota's brain short-circuit. Good morning, Mrs. Harper, she said smoothly. Dakota slammed the door behind her. I swear to God. Too soon? Kate offered a small, apologetic shrug.
Fine.
No jokes. But can we at least acknowledge the awkwardness in the room before the client arrives? Or are we going to pretend your tongue didn't end up in my mouth last week? It wasn't like that. It was exactly like that. Dakota paced to the other side of the table, refusing to sit. That kiss was a mistake. Then why do you look like you haven't slept since it happened? Because I haven't. The confession slipped out before she could stop it. Silence.
Thick. Charged.
Then softly, yeah, Kate said. Me neither. Dakota blinked. She hadn't expected that. Hadn't expected vulnerability. You've been avoiding me. What do you want from me, Kate? I don't know, Kate said honestly. Clarity? Truth? A sign that I'm not going insane thinking about something that apparently meant nothing to you. It didn't mean nothing, Dakota snapped. That's the problem. Kate stood. Slowly. Then stopped running. I don't know how. The door opened. The client walked in. The mask fell into place. For the next hour, Dakota was the picture of composure. Sharp, articulate, unflinching. Kate followed her lead, cool and charming. They passed documents, traded arguments, and built a perfect, bulletproof strategy. Anyone watching would think they were the most synchronized legal team in Manhattan. No one would guess that Dakota's pulse skyrocketed every time their fingers brushed. That under the table, her knee kept shifting closer, then farther, then closer again. The client left satisfied. They were alone again. "I'm sorry," Dakota said suddenly. The words were soft, barely audible. "I panicked. I kissed you. Then I ran. I always run." Kate didn't smile, didn't smirk, just looked at her with something unreadable in her eyes. "Do you regret it?" "No," Dakota whispered. "And that terrifies me." Kate stepped forward.
Slowly. Carefully.
"You don't have to be perfect all the time, you know. I don't know how to not be. Let me show you." It wasn't a kiss this time. Just a touch. Kate's hand, resting gently on Dakota's arm. No pressure. No push. Just presence. Warm and steady. And then the door opened. Too fast. A paralegal stepped in with a courier envelope and froze. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize." Dakota jumped back. "It's fine," she said too quickly. "We were just reviewing something." "Right," the paralegal said, clearly not buying it. She dropped the envelope on the table and backed out. The silence that followed was different now. Heavier. More dangerous. "She's going to talk," Dakota said. "People already gossip. This'll be fuel." "Let them," Kate said quietly. "We've survived worse." "Not if it costs us everything." Kate stepped back. "Then maybe you should decide what everything means to you." That night, Dakota lay awake again. Her apartment was dark, quiet, and far too cold. She could still feel the ghost of Kate's hand on her arm. Still hear her voice. "Let me show you." She hated how much she wanted that. Hated how much it scared her. But worst of all, she was starting to realize she didn't hate Kate at all. Dakota Harper had survived cutthroat litigation, 12-hour depositions, and the unholy terror of Harvard law midterms. But nothing could prepare her for the unique psychological torment of waiting for a secret to explode in her face. It started on a Monday. The kind of Monday that felt off before it even began. Her coffee order was wrong. Her cab got stuck behind a garbage truck. The elevator to the 42nd floor stalled for 8 full seconds, just long enough to make her question all her life choices. But it wasn't until she walked into the office and noticed the silence that she knew something was wrong. Not the normal kind of office silence, the one filled with clicking keyboards and hushed calls. This was the heavy, charged silence of everyone pretending they weren't talking about you 10 seconds ago. Eyes flicked up as she passed. Conversations died mid-sentence. Interns stared too long, then looked away too fast. Dakota's stomach dropped. She knew this feeling. It was the feeling of being watched, of being whispered about. She marched straight to her office, closed the door behind her, and tried to breathe. 5 minutes later, Kate barged in without knocking, looking off. Still composed, still gorgeous in that maddening way, but her jaw was tight and her movements clipped. "It's out," she said. No greeting, no warm-up, just those 2 words, dropped like a bomb. Dakota blinked. What? The marriage.
Us.
Someone knows. Dakota felt like the floor dropped out from beneath her.
Who?
One of the paralegals said she overheard a partner whispering about 2 female associates who got married in Vegas. And get this, he didn't hear it here. He heard it from a friend at another firm. One who happens to know a certain divorce attorney in Manhattan. Rebecca, Dakota whispered, ice in her veins. She promised to keep it confidential. She probably did, but someone in her office didn't. And now, it's spreading. No, Dakota said, backing away.
No.
No, this can't. Hey, Kate said, reaching out, but Dakota shook her head. I'm going to lose the promotion. I'm going to be a joke. We are going to be a joke. They'll think we're impulsive, unprofessional, unhinged, or, Kate interrupted, they'll think we're 2 highly qualified women who happen to make a personal decision they don't get to judge. Dakota laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. You really believe that? I have to. Well, I don't have the luxury of pretending everything's fine. I'm not pretending. You are.
You always do.
You walk around like nothing touches you, like nothing scares you. But this scares the hell out of me. Kate's voice softened. I know. Dakota pressed her hands to her temples, trying to think. We need to do damage control.
Spin this.
Maybe say it was a joke? A dare? A fake wedding for laughs that went too far. Dakota, Kate said, stepping closer. Do you hear yourself? What other option do we have? Telling the truth. Dakota looked up sharply. No, why not? Because I don't even know what the truth is. Then figured out. Because if we keep running from it, someone else is going to define it for us. The door opened suddenly. Andrea, one of the firm's senior assistants, stepped in with a clipboard. Sorry, she said, blinking at the tension in the room. Didn't realize you were busy. What is it? Dakota asked, voice sharp. Senior partners are calling a meeting. All associates. 15 minutes. Conference room A. Dakota's heart stopped. Why? Didn't say. Just that attendance is mandatory. When Andrea left, Dakota turned to Kate, pale. They know. They're going to make an example out of us. Or maybe it's unrelated. You don't believe that? No, Kate admitted. I don't. The walk to the conference room felt like a funeral procession. Associates filed in, murmuring, buzzing with theories. Dakota avoided every glance, every whisper. Kate walked beside her, close but not touching, like some unspoken thread still held them together. The partners entered. Silence fell. Mr. Wallace, the most senior of them, cleared his throat. We'll make this quick, he said. We've been made aware of certain rumors circulating regarding two of our attorneys. Dakota's lungs froze. Rumors that, frankly, are none of our business. Personal relationships between consenting adults, even if unorthodox, are not grounds for professional judgment. She blinked.
Wait, what?
Wallace continued. What is our concern is discretion, professionalism, and whether or not those involved can continue to perform at the level we expect. Dakota's stomach turned. To that end, Wallace said, we've been reviewing the performance of both parties involved, and we've come to a decision. The room held its breath. Mitchell, Harper. Both women straightened. Congratulations. You're both being promoted. Effective immediately. Silence. Then murmurs. Dakota stared. I'm sorry, what? Wallace raised an eyebrow. You've proven you work exceptionally well together. Your win rate is unmatched. And frankly, the firm could use a little more scandal. Keeps us interesting. A few scattered chuckles. Dakota blinked, stunned. Kate grinned. After the meeting, they stood in the hallway, away from the noise. Dakota was still in shock.
I don't understand.
We didn't get fired, Kate said. We got promoted. I was ready to lie, to cover it all up. And I was ready to stop hiding. Dakota looked at her. Really looked at her. You're not scared? Kate shrugged. I'm scared of a lot of things.
But not you.
Not anymore. I don't know what we're doing. We're figuring it out. But we're still married. Technically, yes. And we're still us. Unfortunately, Dakota laughed, breathless. So what now? Kate stepped closer, not touching, just near. Now we stop pretending. And maybe, just maybe, we see what this mess is really turning into. And for once, Dakota didn't run. The office felt different now. Not because of any memo or announcement. Nothing official had been said, but because the air itself had shifted. The whispers had quieted. The stares had faded. The storm had passed, and against all odds, Dakota and Kate were still standing. Not just standing. Promoted. Respected. Still employed. Together. Or not. That part was still blurry. Dakota didn't know how to define what was happening between them. They weren't just enemies. Not anymore. They weren't friends, not really. And calling Kate her wife still made her want to crawl under her desk and scream into her briefcase. But something had changed. The kiss had changed everything. Or maybe the night in Vegas had. Or maybe it had been changing all along. Quietly, slowly, underneath the rivalry and sarcasm, hidden in the way they always noticed each other first when they walked into a room. Dakota hadn't been able to sleep since the meeting. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Kate's face in that hallway. The look in her eyes. The way she'd said she wasn't scared anymore. The way she'd stepped close enough that Dakota could feel her breath, but not close enough to touch. The way she always stopped just short, like she was waiting for Dakota to decide. And Dakota didn't know how to decide. But she knew she couldn't keep pretending she didn't want to. It happened on a Friday.
Late.
The office was empty again, her favorite time of day. The time when the lights dimmed, the chaos faded, and the silence wasn't heavy anymore. Just soft. Just hers. She was organizing files when Kate knocked once and walked in, holding 2 coffees and a bottle of wine. Dakota raised an eyebrow. That's a dangerous combination. I figured I'd cover all emotional possibilities. And what emotional state do you think I'm in? Honestly, Kate set the coffee down. Somewhere between repressed panic and impending breakdown. Dakota laughed. Not far off. Thought so. Why are you here? Because we need to talk. And also because I know you won't come to me. Dakota didn't argue. And I brought this, Kate added, pulling a slim envelope from her bag. Dakota froze. What is that? The finalized divorce paperwork. From Vegas. It's ready to file. The silence stretched. Dakota reached for it. Her fingers brushed the edge. Then she stopped. You haven't signed it. No, why? Kate shrugged. Because I wanted to ask you something first. Okay. Do you want to sign it? Dakota looked down at the envelope. So small. So simple. Just ink and paper. One signature, and the whole thing would be undone. The mistake, the scandal, the kiss. It would all disappear.
Clean.
Final. Safe. She looked up. I don't know. That's fair. Do you? Kate smiled. Not smug. Not playful. Just soft. I thought I did. But then you kissed me. And it didn't feel like something I wanted to erase. It wasn't supposed to happen. A lot of the best things aren't. Dakota took a slow breath. Do you want this? The marriage?
No. This.
Whatever this is. Kate stepped closer. Yes. Dakota's pulse spiked. Why? Because you challenge me. You make me better. You make me furious and sharp and honest. And because, even when I hated you, I never stopped thinking about you. I don't know how to be with someone like you.
Good.
Because I don't want someone who knows how to handle me. I want someone who sees all of me and chooses to stay anyway. Dakota swallowed. You're not what I planned. Neither are you. Another silence. But not uncomfortable. Just charged. Kate reached out, slowly, carefully, like she was touching something fragile. Her fingers brushed Dakota's. No more taunts. No more walls. Just warmth. Connection. Dakota whispered, we're still technically married. So, we might as well kiss like we mean it. And then Kate leaned in. This time, Dakota didn't pull away. Their lips met, soft, slow, reverent. Nothing rushed. Nothing wild. Just heat.
Trust. Truth.
It wasn't a kiss of fury or panic. It wasn't chaos. It was quiet, grounded,
Deep.
the kind of kiss that anchored. Dakota melted into it, into Kate's hands, into the moment, into the reality she'd been running from since Vegas. When they finally pulled apart, Dakota's forehead rested against Kate's. I'm terrified, she whispered. So am I, Kate said. But I'm not running this time. Dakota nodded slowly. Me neither. They stood like that for a long time, in the hush of the office, with only the city lights flickering behind them. Married by accident. Falling in love by choice. For exactly 4 days after the kiss, they lived in a parallel universe. A fragile, stolen one made of glances across glass walls and fingertips brushing in empty elevators and lunches eaten too close in 2 quiet break rooms. They didn't talk about what they were. They didn't say relationship or us. They didn't define it, but they didn't run from it either. Kate stopped smirking every time Dakota walked into the room. Dakota stopped flinching every time their hands accidentally touched. They found a rhythm, secret, quiet, warm, until the universe crashed back into reality. Monday morning, Harper and Langston was buzzing. Trial week. 2 major cases launching. Associates tense, partners irritable, and emails flying like bullets. Dakota had 3 meetings, 2 court filings, and a mountain of paperwork waiting by 9 a.m. She didn't mind. She liked pressure. Pressure gave her focus. Pressure gave her control. Or it used to. Because now, whenever she turned a corner, she half expected to see Kate. And when she did, her heart reacted first, before logic, before reason, before years of perfectly trained emotional restraint. She hated it. And she loved it. Kate, of course, acted as if nothing had changed, which meant everything had. She still laughed too loud, argued too hard, flirted with danger in every sentence, but now there was softness at the edges. A glance held 1 second too long. A message sent late at night. No words, just a stupid emoji that still made Dakota smile. They'd gone out exactly once since the kiss. Dinner in a quiet restaurant in the village, hidden in a corner booth, legs brushing under the table. They didn't talk about the divorce papers, or Vegas, or the firm. They just existed, together, raw and real. Dakota wasn't sure what they were building, but for the first time in years, she wanted to find out. That was the problem. Wanting it made it real. And real things, messy things, had a way of not staying secret. Wednesday afternoon it happened. The slip. The moment the universe decided to shatter the bubble. Dakota and Kate were in conference room 12B, alone, reviewing deposition strategy. The door was closed. The blinds were drawn. The office was unusually quiet, and they were too close. Again. You're pushing too hard on Cross, Dakota said, reviewing the notes. It'll look like we're attacking the witness. We are attacking the witness. She's lying. Doesn't matter. Juries hate bullies. And you're the expert on how juries feel now. I'm the expert on what works. Funny, Kate said, stepping closer. I thought I was the one with the higher win ratio. That's because you flirt with everyone on the stand. I haven't flirted with you in at least, Kate checked her watch, 4 hours. Dakota rolled her eyes. That's not flirting. That's harassment. You haven't filed a complaint.
Yet.
I'd like to see the evidence. Exhibit A, Dakota said, stepping forward. You invading my personal space. You don't have personal space with me, Kate whispered. That's part of the problem. Is it? Silence.
Thick.
Electric. Dangerous. Kate's hand brushed Dakota's waist.
Light.
Barely there, but it was enough. Dakota leaned in just a little. Just enough. Their foreheads nearly touched. We can't do this here, Dakota whispered. I know. But neither of them moved. Until the door opened.
Fast. Loud.
Jason, one of the junior associates, walked in with a thick binder in hand and froze. They jumped apart. Dakota straightened her blazer. Kate casually stepped back. Jason blinked.
Oh, sorry.
I didn't know this room was booked. It's fine, Dakota said crisply. We were just finishing.
Right.
Of course. He lingered too long, eyes darting between them. Something passed behind them, a flash of recognition, or realization, or calculation. Then he nodded and left. Dakota didn't breathe for a full 30 seconds. That's it, she said, pacing.
He saw.
He knows. He's going to tell everyone. He doesn't have proof. He doesn't need proof. We work with lawyers, Kate. Rumors are admissible as gospel in this building. So what? So what? So what? If people start talking again, if the partners think we're unprofessional, if it puts the promotion at risk. We already got the promotion, Dakota. It can still be taken away. Kate's voice rose. Are you really going to keep living like this? Terrified of being seen with me? Hiding in conference rooms and pretending we're nothing? You think I want to hide?
Yes.
I think you'd rather pretend this is temporary than admit what we both know is happening. Dakota stopped. Her chest was heaving. Her hands were shaking. I'm scared, she whispered. Of me.
Of this.
Of what it means. Of what I'd be without the armor. Kate stepped forward. Slower this time. No teasing. No fire. Just warmth. I don't want your armor. I want you. Even if you're scared. Especially if you're scared. Dakota swallowed. If this gets out, if we get out, we have to be ready. So, let's be ready. Dakota looked up. You're really not afraid anymore. Kate smiled. I'm terrified. But I want you more than I want to be safe. And then it happened again. The kiss. This time in broad daylight. No cover. No shadows. No panic. Kate kissed her like a promise. And Dakota kissed her back like she believed it. When they pulled apart, Dakota whispered, We're going to get caught. Then let them watch. And maybe, for the first time, Dakota was starting to want that too. They didn't plan it. Of course they didn't. Dakota Harper didn't do spontaneity, and Kate Mitchell didn't do attachment. But somehow, in the whirlwind of depositions and deadlines, of trial prep and client dinners, it just happened. Another late night. Another case they had to strategize together. Another bottle of wine between them, opened under the guise of celebrating a small court win that neither of them actually cared about. They were in Kate's apartment this time, sleek, minimalist, full of personality Dakota had never let herself imagine. A record player in the corner, books stacked on the floor instead of shelves, wine glasses that didn't match. The kind of lived-in chaos that made Dakota skin itch. And somehow, also made her feel warm, comfortable,
alive.
Kate had taken her heels off hours ago. Dakota was still in her blouse and pencil skirt, sleeves rolled up, top button undone. She sat curled on the corner of Kate's couch, one leg tucked beneath her, wine glass in hand, posture stiff as ever, except for the way her eyes kept drifting. Kate, in contrast, was sprawled out, barefoot and loose-limbed, head tilted back against the cushion, swirling her glass lazily. You know, she said, voice smooth with exhaustion and alcohol, you're allowed to relax when we're not at the office. I am relaxed, Dakota replied, too fast, too clipped. Kate smirked. That's your relaxed face? Looks exactly like your we're all going to die in court tomorrow face. Dakota took another sip. Some of us prefer to look composed. Some of us prefer to look like we're not pretending to be robots. You don't need to look like anything. You walk into a room and own it without trying. That almost sounded like a compliment. It wasn't.
Sure.
The silence that followed wasn't uncomfortable. It was familiar. But it buzzed with something new now. Something hotter. More dangerous. Dakota tried to look away, but Kate was right there. Close enough to touch. Close enough to remember exactly what her skin felt like. So, Kate said softly, we're really doing this, huh? Dakota didn't answer right away. I don't know what this is. You and me. The weird, messy, confusing, hot as hell thing we've been pretending doesn't exist for months. Dakota breathed in slowly. It's not just hot. That's what scares me. Kate leaned in, setting her glass aside. You think I'm not scared too? You don't act like it. That's because if I stop pretending I'm fearless, I might never stop running. Dakota's eyes locked on hers. Don't run tonight. Kate didn't reply. She didn't need to. Because the next moment happened without permission. Without planning. Without one of them making a speech. Dakota set her glass down and crossed the space between them. She kissed Kate like it was the first time, but slower, deeper. No adrenaline. No mistake. Just need. Just truth. Kate kissed her back like she'd been waiting for this moment since the day they met. Their bodies moved without thinking, like muscle memory from a lifetime they hadn't lived yet. Clothes disappeared. Gasps filled the room, low and urgent. Hands mapped skin like it was familiar territory. Dakota's name was whispered like a promise. Kate's lips were worshipped like a sin. They made it to the bed half-dressed and half-lost. And when Dakota pulled Kate beneath her, slow and deliberate, there was no rivalry left. No bitterness. Just fire. Raw, desperate, holy fire. Nothing about it was careful. Nothing about it was casual. It wasn't just sex. It was everything they'd been holding back. Every look, every insult laced with affection, every argument that had always been one misstep away from turning into this. Dakota let go of the fear, the rules, the control. And for the first time in her life, she let herself feel everything. She didn't know how long it lasted, hours, maybe, but when it was over and they were tangled together in the sheets, skin slick with sweat, breathing uneven, Dakota didn't move. Kate, to her credit, didn't push. She just traced lazy circles on Dakota's arm and whispered, "Still think this is just a disaster?" Dakota closed her eyes. Yes. Liar. Maybe. You're going to freak out in the morning. Definitely. But not yet. Not yet, Dakota agreed, her voice barely a breath. She fell asleep with her head on Kate's shoulder, their legs entwined, the weight of fear softened by the rhythm of a heart that didn't belong to her, but was beating just for her anyway. Morning came with soft light and cruel reality. Dakota woke first. Always did. She blinked against the sun filtering through Kate's window and took inventory. Naked. Tangled. Sore in all the best ways. And still alive. Still here. Kate stirred beside her, then opened one eye. Morning, wife. Dakota groaned. Don't start. Too late. We need rules. We already broke all of them. Then we need new ones. How about Rule 1, no running? Dakota looked at her for a long time. Rule 2, no pretending this didn't happen.
Deal.
Rule 3, she hesitated. We figured out together. Kate smiled. Now that sounds like a plan I can work with. And maybe, just maybe, for the first time since Vegas, Dakota wasn't thinking about how to escape. She was thinking about how to stay. Dakota thought that after the night with Kate, after the way her body surrendered and her walls finally cracked, something inside her would feel calmer, settled, as if all the noise in her head would quiet into something resembling peace. But it didn't. The morning after had been tender, slow, full of whispered jokes and lazy touches. Kate had kissed her bare shoulder before getting up to make coffee. Dakota had leaned against the kitchen counter in one of Kate's oversized shirts, smiling like she didn't know how to stop. And then she left. She kissed Kate goodbye, put on her heels, tied her hair back into its usual sleek bun, and walked out the door. It was supposed to feel like progress, like choosing instead of running. But all it did was make the voice in her head louder. This isn't you. You're not this person. You don't fall. You don't let people in. All week, Dakota fought that voice like she fought everything, methodically, ruthlessly, silently. She showed up to work on time. She filed court documents early. She answered every email with mechanical precision. And every time her phone lit up with Kate's name, she let it go dark again. She wasn't ready. She didn't know how to be this person outside the hotel room, outside the apartment, outside the quiet they'd built together. And Kate? Kate waited. At first, she didn't push.
She didn't ask.
She just sent small things. A picture of Dakota's favorite croissant in the break room with the caption, "Missed you." A playlist link titled "Songs for Hot Wives Who Are Avoiding Me." A single text on Friday night. "Still thinking about you." No pressure. But when Dakota didn't answer, not once, not even to say she needed space, Kate stopped texting. And that silence was louder than anything. Monday morning, Dakota walked into the office and found her chair already occupied.
Kate.
In her chair in her office, spinning slowly with her feet propped up, sipping from a paper cup. Dakota froze. "You can't just come in here." I knocked. I didn't answer. Exactly. Kate stood. "You've been avoiding me for a week." "I've been busy." "Try again." "Kate, what are we doing?" Dakota's stomach twisted. "We're not doing anything." "Right," Kate said, her voice flat. "Just sex. Just one night. Just a mistake." "I never said it was a mistake. But you're acting like it was." Dakota looked away. "I don't know what I'm doing, okay? I don't do feelings like this. I don't do this." "I know," Kate said. But you can't disappear and expect me to pretend it didn't mean something. I didn't ask you to pretend anything. Then what do you want? Dakota's mouth opened.
Closed.
Opened again.
She didn't know. She wanted time. Space.
Control. But more than that, more than she wanted to admit, she wanted Kate. The real Kate. The woman who infuriated her, challenged her, made her laugh when no one else could. But wanting her meant being seen. And Dakota had spent her entire life building a version of herself that never cracked. I can't be what you want, she said finally. Kate nodded slowly. Her face didn't break. Didn't plead. Okay. That's it. What do you want me to say, Dakota? That I'll wait while you decide whether or not I'm worth the risk. That I'll keep texting you and checking in and pretending like I'm not breaking a little more every time you ignore me? I didn't mean to hurt you. But you did. Silence. Dakota hated herself for it. Hated how much it hurt to watch Kate walk to the door. And she didn't stop her. Not because she didn't want to, but because she didn't know how. That week was unbearable. Kate was cold, but not cruel. She was professional, distant, and perfectly polite. She didn't make jokes. Didn't flirt. Didn't linger in elevators or hallways. And Dakota? Dakota felt every inch of the space between them like it was suffocating her. Every room without Kate felt wrong. Every case without her input felt dull. Every conversation felt hollow. Dakota missed her. God, she missed her. But she didn't know how to say it. Not without opening the door to everything she'd spent her life trying to avoid. Wednesday afternoon, Dakota walked into the break room and found Kate laughing, with one of the junior associates. A woman. Pretty. Charming. Young. And for the first time in her life, Dakota felt jealous. Viscerally, sharply, blindingly jealous. Kate caught her looking, and didn't smile. Just nodded once and turned back to her coffee. Dakota walked out, and spent the rest of the day trying not to cry. That night, she stood in her apartment staring at the divorce papers again. Still unsigned. Still unfinished. Her heart ached. Her throat burned. And she realized she didn't want out of this marriage. She wanted back into the one thing that had ever felt real. She picked up her phone, typed a message, deleted it,
Called.
hung up. Finally, she wrote one line. Are you home? 10 seconds later. Yes. Can I come over? Doors unlocked. Dakota didn't think. She didn't plan. She just grabbed her coat and ran. 15 minutes later, she was standing in Kate's apartment doorway, heart pounding, soaked from the rain, trembling. Kate opened the door and froze. Dakota took one step in and whispered, I messed up. Yeah, Kate said. You did. I was scared. You still are. Yes. Then why are you here? Dakota looked up, eyes wet, voice shaking. Because I don't want to be scared without you. Kate didn't speak, just stared, then stepped aside. Dakota walked in. You hurt me, Kate said. I know. You ran. I won't again. Promise. I can't. She paused. But I want to. Kate studied her for a long time. Then slowly, she closed the door behind her. And Dakota exhaled for the first time in a week. Kate hadn't expected her to show up. Not like that. Not dripping wet in the middle of a Thursday night, coat clinging to her legs, rain in her lashes, voice cracking on every word. But there she was. Dakota Harper, flawless, untouchable, brilliant, stubborn, shaking like a leaf and looking at her like she didn't know how to breathe without her. So Kate let her in. Quietly. Without questions. And for a long time they didn't say anything. Dakota stood in the doorway, soaked and silent, arms wrapped around herself. Kate moved to the kitchen, made tea like it was the only way to keep her hands from trembling. By the time she handed the mug over, Dakota had taken off her coat and was standing in just a sweater and leggings, barefoot, vulnerable in a way Kate had never seen her. You're mad, Dakota said, voice low. I was. And now? Kate studied her. The shadows under her eyes. The way her mouth pulled down at the corners. the way she was trying so hard not to fall apart. Now I'm trying not to kiss you, she whispered. Because if I do, I'll forget how angry I was. Maybe I don't want you to forget. Maybe I don't want it either.
Silence again.
Then Kate sat on the couch and patted the space beside her. Dakota hesitated, then moved. Carefully.
Slowly.
Like every inch closed between them was a question. When she sat down, they didn't touch. But their knees were only inches apart. Their breaths moved in sync. Why did you come here? Kate asked finally. Because I couldn't sleep. Because every time I close my eyes, I see your face. Because it hurts, and I thought walking away would make it easier, but it only made it worse. Kate looked away. You made me feel small, Dakota. Like I was disposable. You're the opposite of disposable. You terrify me. Good. Dakota blinked. Why? Because I'm terrified too. And I still didn't run. Dakota exhaled, shaky. Do you remember the first day we met? Of course. You wore that ridiculous gray suit with the shoulder pads and refused to make eye contact with anyone. And you had red lipstick and combat boots with your business suit. Kate smiled softly. The partners almost had a stroke. I hated you. No, you didn't. Okay. I hated how you made me feel. Like I wasn't as in control as I thought I was. Same. They both laughed. Quiet, tired, warm. I've never done this before, Dakota said. I don't know how to be with someone. You don't have to know. Just try. I've been trying my whole life to keep people out. To protect, whatever this is. She touched her chest. This soft part of me no one sees. Kate reached out.
Gently.
Fingers brushing Dakota's knee. I see it. Dakota looked at her. And you still want me? Especially because of that. She blinked hard, suddenly. I've loved people before, you know. But not like this. Not in this slow burn, war zone, enemies to soulmates kind of way. Not with someone who knows every piece of me I've ever tried to hide. You were supposed to be a mistake. You weren't supposed to make me feel like this. Then why did you stay? Because even when you break me, Kate whispered, you put me back together in ways I didn't know I needed. The words cracked something open inside Dakota. Her lips parted. Her breath hitched. I think I'm in love with you.
Kate stilled.
Eyes wide. You think? No, Dakota corrected softly. I am. I'm in love with you, and I'm scared and I'm messy, and I don't know how to do this without hurting you sometimes.
But I want to try.
With you. Kate reached out and cupped her face, thumb brushing the corner of her mouth. Say it again. I'm in love with you. One more time.
Kate.
Please. I'm in love with you. And then they kissed.
Soft.
Devastating.
Perfect.
Kate pulled her into her lap, hands cradling the back of her neck, and Dakota melted like she had finally found the place she was meant to rest. There was no urgency now. No fear. Just skin against skin, breath against breath, mouths learning each other again like a prayer. Clothes came off in pieces. Slow. Reverent. Not about sex. Not this time. About belonging. Kate whispered things against her skin. Words Dakota had never let herself hear before. And she whispered them back. All of them. They made love like it was a declaration of surrender. When it was over, they lay tangled together, skin damp, hearts raw. Kate spoke first. So, what now? Now, Dakota murmured. We don't look back. Even when it gets hard? Especially then. You know the office is never going to let us live this down. Let them talk. Kate smiled against her neck. I love you too, by the way. I was hoping you did. So, still want that divorce? Dakota laughed. Pure and honest. Not in this lifetime. Good, Kate said. Because I have so many plans for our second honeymoon. Oh no. Starting with Paris. You're impossible. You love it. I love you. Same thing. And just like that, the woman she once thought was her enemy became the person she couldn't imagine her life without. It was Monday morning again. A full circle. Same office. Same elevator. Same clicks of heels against polished marble floors. But nothing felt the same anymore. Because this time, Dakota Harper wasn't alone. She stepped into Harper and Langston's buzzing 42nd floor lobby with Kate Mitchell at her side, shoulder to shoulder, steps in sync, fingers almost brushing. Not hiding. Not pretending.
Just there.
Present. Together. The whispers started before they even reached the receptionist's desk. A paralegal nudged a junior associate. An intern dropped her coffee cup. Someone half-whispered, "Are they?" And someone else whispered back, "Yes." But Dakota didn't flinch. She didn't pull away.
Not this time.
Kate glanced at her, one eyebrow raised. "Still sure about this?" Dakota gave the tiniest nod. "Let them look. And if someone says something, then we smile. And win another case." "God, I love you." "Good," Dakota whispered, "because I think I'm going to need you not to let go of my hand when we go into this meeting." Kate didn't say anything, just reached out and threaded their fingers together. It was stupid. So small.
Just skin against skin.
But it anchored Dakota, grounded her, reminded her she wasn't falling anymore. She was choosing. They were both summoned to the conference room at 10 a.m. sharp. Wallace was waiting, along with two other senior partners. No one smiled. No one said congratulations. The air was heavy.
Corporate. Cold.
Dakota's stomach twisted. This was it. Either they were about to be recognized for what they'd built, or penalized for how it had started. Wallace gestured for them to sit.
They did.
Still holding hands beneath the table. "I assume," Wallace said, glancing at the clasped hands with a raised brow, "that the rumors are no longer rumors." Dakota spoke first.
Clear.
Confident.
"No, sir."
"They're not. And I assume you understand the optics of two newly promoted attorneys in a romantic relationship, one that began under unorthodox circumstances." "Yes," Dakota said. "We do." "Then I'll be blunt," Wallace said. "We've been discussing how to proceed. Your performance is exceptional. Your synergy undeniable. But this firm has a reputation. We value stability,
Discretion.
long-term vision, and we don't reward chaos." Dakota's heart was hammering. Kate squeezed her hand once, hard. "So," Wallace continued, "we need to know, is this stable?" Kate leaned forward.
Calm.
Unapologetic. "We got married in Vegas by accident. We tried to hide it. We tried to undo it. And in the process, we fell for each other.
Completely.
We're not just a couple. We're partners. We work better together than apart. That won't change." Wallace raised an eyebrow. "So you're staying married?" Dakota met his gaze, steady. "Yes. Not out of necessity. Not for appearances. But because you choose to be. Every day." There was a long pause. Then Wallace sighed, leaned back and muttered, "Thank God. It's about time something interesting happened in this damn firm." Dakota blinked. I'm sorry." One of the other partners smiled. "Relax, Harper. We're not here to fire you." The second partner added, "We were prepared to issue a conflict of interest warning, depending on how this played out. But after reviewing the last 4 months of work, we've decided not only to maintain your promotions, but to offer you co-lead status on the new multi-million-dollar litigation project launching next quarter." Dakota's mouth opened, then closed. Kate grinned. "We accept." "Of course you do," Wallace muttered. "You two are sharks. In heels." The meeting ended with nods and clipped handshakes, but Dakota barely registered any of it. They walked out of the conference room in silence, into the empty hallway. When the door closed behind them, Dakota stopped. Turned. "Did that just happen?" Kate nodded, smiling. "We just got rewarded for being legally reckless." "I love this firm." "You love me." Dakota smiled. "That too." Then, without another word, she kissed her. Right there. In the hallway. In broad daylight. Tongue, teeth, hands, heart. No hiding. No shame. Just everything they were, loud and messy and perfect. When they finally pulled apart, Dakota leaned her forehead against Kate's. "We survived Vegas." We survived each other. And now, Kate smirked. Now I say we go back to where it started and do it right. You want to go to Vegas again? I want to marry you again. This time sober.
Dakota laughed.
And in something less glittery than an Elvis chapel? Absolutely not. I'm making you wear sequins. God help me. Too late. You married me twice. I'll survive. You'll love it. Dakota pulled her close again. I already do. 3 weeks later, in a private chapel outside the Strip, Dakota stood in front of Kate in a simple white suit, holding her hand and promising forever. Not because of a drunken dare or an accidental blackjack win, but because she couldn't imagine a life without her. Kate wore ivory silk, a smug grin, and zero regrets. They exchanged vows. Real ones. Raw ones. There were tears. Laughter. A kiss that made the officiant whistle. And then, as they walked back down the aisle hand in hand, Kate leaned in and whispered, "Third time's the charm." Dakota rolled her eyes. "I swear if we get accidentally married again, then I'll just keep saying yes." The camera flash caught them mid-laugh, mid-kiss, mid-promise. And somewhere in New York, a package was waiting on their desk, another envelope from the same Vegas chapel. Inside, a photo. 2 women. 1 kiss. This time no tequila. Just love. Thank you so much for being here and for believing in this channel. If you feel in your heart, you can donate with super thanks so I can focus more and more on this project. Your support helps me keep creating these love stories and bringing them to life for you. See you in the next video.